think this is 009.
009.
Pretty confident this is 009.
Okay. We always have a hard time remembering that. So, all right, here we go. Welcome everybody to Talk of the Trades, where we talk to experts, friends and family in the home service industry, just to spread knowledge of the best minds in the business. Joining us today by way of Detroit, Michigan, is number 53, a 6'8" true center from Wittenberg University, the winningest Division III basketball program in the country. He got his start as a sports telemarketer in Ron's one-bedroom apartment. He cut his teeth on the phones at C.H. Robinson, then spent a decade at Lennox International. He's former president of sales at Rhino Strategic Solutions, the current VP of sales and customer success at Contractor Commerce, host of the Change Your Filter podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tall Paul Redman.
Amazing job. Amazing job. Okay, so I'm tearing up right now. I kid you not. This is why. One, your research is incredible, and I've got a lot of questions. The fact that you referred to me as a true center, I don't know what web scrape you did or where I've mentioned that, but like that's a thing. Like true centers don't exist anymore.
They don't. And so that's just, Aaron and I are both sports guys. This guy, we'll get into it later, but he's a, former middle and high school girls basketball coach, which I know you aspire to be once you get out of sales. So
right.
We'll dive into that more a little bit later. But we're sports guys, man. And so we know a true center when we see one.
Yeah.
So that was impressive. However, we're going to go back to Ron's apartment. And I don't know how long this podcast, how much time you guys have, but we might camp here the whole, like if we're going to talk about sales, and like earlier when you were asking me about like insights on sales, like I've kind of even though I'm a sales guy at heart and built my career there, like I'm doing other things now. And so I don't always think like about sales, but if you want to talk about sales, we're going to talk about Ron's apartment. I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know where you learned that.
We have,
but I can tell you this, and the fact that you knew I was number 53, that's searchable. But
from Wayne High School, Hoover Heights, we know it all. We have your stat sheet here. I didn't want to call out all your stats.
Don't call out the stats. But Ron's apartment. Can I tell you a story about Ron's apartment?
Let's talk about Ron's apartment.
All right. So I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally. Yeah. My family is like coal miner people who moved up the corridor of I-75 into Michigan to work at the auto plants, right? Okay. So I lived in Detroit, not like suburban Detroit, like Detroit, not so great Detroit. Yeah. And my dad wanted to move us to a place that was a little safer, so we moved to Ohio. So I grew up in Ohio, and long way of saying I'm a first generation college student. So no one in my family, to my knowledge at that time, had ever been through college. So I was a first year, went to 4-year college, whatever. And I went to Wittenberg University, small private school, the winningest Division III program in the nation. Thank you very much. And I thought that all I had to do was get a college degree and the world would just open its arms for me. And that we all know and have come to learn that's not exactly how it works. Mm-hmm. So my goal when I went into college was that if I got out and I got a job making $40,000 a year, I have made it, because that's what my mom made in her best year. So I figured, like, she's an adult and she raised a family. If I can make $40,000 a year fresh out of college, then I'm on my way. And I always knew I wanted to be in sales or some sort of business, and also some sort of kind of industrial world. Like I just, that world just made sense to me. And I knew if I had an opportunity in sales, I could make it in corporate America. That's my short bridge version. Well, I got out of college, and one of the companies that was like recruiting or had a program or relationship with our basketball team and some players was a freight company, a trucking company. Now, my dad was a truck driver, and that's industrial, and it was based in Dayton. So it was the perfect opportunity. They had a management program, and I get into the program, and there's like 12 of us in this program, including a couple of guys I played basketball with. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was a disconnect between my expectation on what I should be doing in this management program and their expectation of my performance. Yeah. So I'm going through this program. It's week 11, and they call me into the office, and they know I want to be in sales, but like I can barely load the trucks. And in my mind, I'm like, why should I learn how to load the trucks? I'm going to be in sales. Right. And so I think I just had I lacked some professional maturity and awareness. And I'll come back to that. But they brought me in, and like, there's two really good, successful, nice guys sitting there, and they sit me down and they're like, Paul, this isn't a fit. You're terminated. We're going to let you go. And I'm like, what? I thought everybody loved me. And so this is September, the year after. So you graduate in May, you go through the summer. This is September, week 11 of this program. And I remember leaving there, like, one, feeling like the biggest loser in the world. And two, I had just graduated. And because I had this job that was making exactly $40,000, which is, that's another side note. Like, that's what I was seeking. That's what I got.
Yeah.
I had a car payment, and I had rent, and I had all these sort of things. And I had so much shame. I had to move back in with my mom at the time. It was just not in Huber Heights, Ohio, which is another conversation. But it took me a really, really long time to get on my feet. And my mom actually came to me and was like, hey, I found this ad in the newspaper for sports marketing. And it's in Kettering, right? Not far from there. Yeah. And so, and you can interview Monday morning. It's like open interviews. So I put on the tuck or the suit that I just, wore, an oversized suit that I had just worn for my graduation. And I tucked my tails between my legs. And at least the fact that I was driving somewhere to do something for sports marketing felt like respectable.
Yeah.
And so I get out to this building, and it's like I can't tell if it's an apartment building or a medical building. It, like, commercial, residential, lines are still blurry. And I go inside, and it is very much residential and commercial, meaning like there's an accountant living next to a cat lady. And I go into this green carpet, I'll never forget it. And I walk into this room, and there's a bed and a table. That's it. And there's a dude named Ron and a dude named Tony. And they sit me down, and I am like, I'm confused because, like, am I in a house? Am I in a business? What is this? But I'm also, like, incredibly desperate.
Yeah.
And this sports marketing job, the way this worked was they went to the university, the local University of Dayton, and then Ohio State University.
Yeah.
What they would do is they would take the worst performing, the tickets that never sold at sporting events, like the top 2 rows of the women's basketball games or the men's basketball games, or the women's soccer, like, guest bleachers at Ohio State. They would go to these schools, and they would take them for free on consignment, and then they would sell them, and they would sell them through the phones. I'll pause here for any clarifying questions before I tell you the real part of this story.
No, this is all very, very fascinating.
Was the bed made?
The bed was immaculate.
Okay.
And how many cats did Ron have?
There was one cat in this particular office. So I go through the interview. They offer me the job. I start the next morning, and the job paid $7 an hour or $10 an hour based on performance. So you had to perform to make 10. And I go up, I'm at this point, this is like, I just need cash. I'll figure it out. This is before smartphones. This is before internet being wildly available everywhere, which is another point. So I show up to work, and they hired someone else who lived in the building. So there was a young single mom, not a single mom, but a mom who was in the building, and we were the 2 hires. So we go into this apartment. There's 2 folding tables. There's 2 phones and a folding chair, right?
Yeah.
And a phone book on each table and a script. And that was it. And they gave you the script, and you just started calling businesses. You would start just, hairdressers, doctors, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had to use the restroom, but I couldn't use the restroom in Ron's apartment because Ron lived in that apartment, like, on consignment. Like, he was from somewhere else, and he was there to do this project. So Ron, who's sitting on the bed or next to his table, which is, again, immaculately made, we couldn't use the restroom in that room. That would be, an invasion of his privacy. So we had to get a key from him. So we had to ask to go to the restroom.
Oh.
Now I'm going to pause for a moment. I went to a private liberal arts school. I didn't know what lacrosse was until I got on campus. Like, I had never seen the world like this. I'm from Detroit and grew up in Huber Heights.
Yeah.
So, like, the kids that I went to school with, like, they did internships in the city, and they got jobs with their parents' company. And I was seeing them. Facebook had just come out too. That's critical to this. So I'm now seeing what people are doing, and people are like, I got an internship at Merrill Lynch, or I'm studying abroad, or I'm doing a gap year, or I'm going to grad school. And I'm seeing this stuff happen in real time. And I'm having to go to some dude to ask to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. That's
Brutal. And this is fall time, right? This is like September. I went to the bathroom. Like I spent about an hour calling. I went to the bathroom and dude, I just cried. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a loser. Like I just felt so bad for myself. And the restroom was tight. And it was like, I remember being stuck in this like urinal, or not urinal, in this stall.
Yeah.
And I'm not being dramatic at all. I don't know if I've ever told anybody the story. Like I must have, because you know it.
Yeah, I've heard bits and parts of it, but it's good to get the full story again from you.
I'm almost done.
What a humbling experience, but also it kind of like led to where you're at today, and
Well,
because I know you were waiting desperately for a call from somebody else, and then that's when C.H. Robinson called you, and then boom, the rest is history, kind of from there, right?
that was it. And so the real quick point before I move on from the story is like, I had to decide if I was going to walk out and like lick my wounds and go find something else, or if I was going to try to make $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And I would come to learn that Ron and Tony Barhorst and Ron, I'll come back to his name. I was just Googling him a couple weeks ago. I learned that they were getting ready to fire me and walk me out because I was terrible on the phones. They like on that bathroom break, when I came back, they were going to just like quickly cut bait, and they didn't. And so I ended up working there 40 hours a week. I did my best to perform. So I ended up making $10 an hour. So it's $400 a week. So it was enough to like eat. But I remember like, man, I remember lunch breaks, like going to my, I was just telling my kids a story, like going to my car, scrounging up change and getting like a root beer for lunch because at a gas station next door, because back to the internet, the only time I had available to search for a job was at my lunch break, unpaid lunch at a library.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to go to the library, go to monster.com. There were kids, not kids, adults like watching anime porn on each side of me. Like it was weird. Like it's a public library. Like you can edit that out if you need to. And I would hustle back. And I did that job from September all the way through February. And one day, just randomly, my phone rang, and it was a company that I took the next job. And I have some awesome stories about that company. But the other point is sales. So I had this phone book. I had some index cards. So if someone said like, if someone was warm, you would write their name on an index card. So I'm like, hey, I talked to this hairdresser. She said, no, not right now, but maybe check back. I'd write her name on an index card. And so basically you're building the index card for follow-up later. Right. And I ended up doing just fine and selling these stupid tickets. They're $5 a piece.
Yeah.
And but the thing that I earned there was, one, the ability to pick up a phone call and just call someone and ask for something out of the blue. Yeah. That's a skill I used today. Like today I had to call someone who doesn't know me to ask them to do something for me. Like that's a skill. The other part is I held my arm like this for so long from that period of time, because I, like, again, not to be dramatic, I was just hanging up dialing. My fingers went numb because my hand was like this.
Yeah.
And so now zooming out into, my world now, like I have a really hard time feeling sorry for people who have to make a cold call or have to do this or have to do that, because it's just baked into, this isn't about calling, but it's about like, did you do hard things for a sustained period of time? And that is where, like, when I look at the newest generation of, no offense to anyone I'm hiring or whatever, but like younger workers fresh out of school, they haven't had to endure those sort of things.
Yeah.
And until you take, like, that feeling I had when I got fired from that place and I had to go to Ron's cat infested apartment and do that, the feeling I'm a moment's away notice from that feeling again. And so like, that's how I've been able to build my career, and it's worked out really well. But like, dude, Ron's apartment, I can't believe you made that connection.
Hey, dude, I hope Ron's doing well, because look what you become, Paul. So he had a minor influence, but kudos to you in terms of like that adversity. And like a lot of people we talk to on the podcast, it's amazing just to hear their story, because a lot of it, it starts with adversity, and then, now you're in this position of success and the impact you can make. So, awesome story. Appreciate you sharing that, man.
Dude, appreciate the
The,
research.
the other, it gets better. Are you ready for this question?
Yes.
So, I want to know if you've followed up with Terry McMiniman to let her know how your life has turned out in sales, and to let her know that she was right.
That's a funny, that's another good one. So Terry McMiniman is Daniel McMiniman's mother.
Yeah.
Daniel McMiniman is the only friend I've kept up with since high school. And I had a lot of friends in high school, went deep and wide, but Daniel is he's my buddy. And his mom is the one who told me that I should go into sales. And I don't know if I've definitely told Daniel that, because Daniel's an engineer. So like we were oil and water when it came to this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's aircraft engineer, and I'm, a liberal arts guy. So, but it's worked out. But yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
She knows it's worked out.
That's awesome. Love it, man. The next kind of personal question is, we also did our research, and we know after your career in sales, your goal is to become either a middle or high school basketball coach. And I just want you to know, this guy right here, he's already done it. That's where he cut his teeth back in the day. Girls basketball, no less.
That's the only sport worth coaching.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had the ultimate revenge. I still cringe about it, but my high school basketball coach, freshman through senior year, had just won state before I got there, and then he was dealt all freshmen after that. And so he worked us pretty bad. We were running a lot. Well, I got his daughter in middle school, and she just on the bench, coach, let me go in, coach, let me go in, coach, let me go in. And after years, because I would try to do the Jason Williams elbow pass successfully, if it was an easy bounce pass, I'd try to find a way to throw it behind my head when I was in the paint. I was a heartache for him. So he always gave me hell. And I turned because she wouldn't stop. And one time I turned and looked at her, I said, no, I want to win the game. And then walked away. And then she, of course, my mom was her teacher after that, and I didn't realize the hurt that I might have inflicted on her at that time. I still feel a little guilty, but it was coming from a place of revenge from all the running that I did.
That's solid.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's definitely a test.
So Paul, when you make that transition, what kind of lessons are you going to take from all your experience in sales and leadership? What are you going to take to your coaching? And then also, what kind of offense and defense are you going to implement? What's the game plan?
It's a good question. So I've coached girls basketball from time to time, but I'm in a season of life right now where it's impossible. I tried 2 years ago to be the assistant middle school girls basketball coach. And the school's right around the corner. Like I can walk there by design. That's where my office is. And I just don't have the attention span right now. Like I would be on calls until 3:59, go to the game at 4, and then back on a call at 5 o'clock in the outside locker rooms. Like, not fun. But it's interesting. The kids you got to teach a good man-to-man defense. But yeah. I think I saw your question earlier, like a solid 2-3 zone fundamentals, everybody working together is pretty impressive too. So I do like with girls basketball though, my favorite go-to is, I don't know if you call it a box in one, or like where you face guard their best player. It's like, most girls basketball, if you can break a press, and if you can face guard their best player, you're fine.
Nice. Love it. That's simple, dude. That's simple. So all you aspiring coaches out there, write that down right now. So cool. One other fun thing we wanted to do, Paul, before we kind of jump into some more questions around kind of just sales and the e-commerce side of it. So we want to play a game. This is new to the show. And so the game is called Who's Taller with Tall Paul? Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to run through a list of celebrities and athletes, and you let us know if you are taller than them or not. And we'll reveal the answer to you. Okay. So first up, and just to clarify, Paul, you are 6'8", correct?
I am 6'8" on the nose. I used to identify as 6'9" to get a scholarship.
Hey, I'm totally 6 foot. So if anybody asks,
5'11".
6 foot. Okay, so first up, who's taller, you or Michael Jordan?
That goes to me. Michael Jordan is 6'6".
He is. Okay. Next up, R.I.P. Mamba, Kobe Bryant. Who's taller, you or
Uh,
Kobe?
rest in peace. That one also goes to me. Kobe Bryant is 6'7".
Okay. I had
Right?
6'6", but I think
Okay.
there were some sources that said 6'7", so we'll go 6'6".
Depends on the shoes.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Next up, LeBron James.
LeBron James is a solid 6'9".
Okay. According to my sources, 6'8", so it's a tie.
It's a tie. I'll take
You're
it.
the same height.
I'll
So
take
that's a
it.
trick question. Okay, we got Liam Neeson.
I'd
Sorry,
venture to
Nathan.
I'd venture to guess I'm taller than Liam Neeson.
That's true. He's only 6'4", but
Only.
he looks like a giant. So
Does he?
that's why we threw it in there. Okay, little country flavor. Blake Shelton.
Oh, he looks pretty tall, but not 6'8".
Dang, yeah, you're right. He's 6'5". Okay, The Rock.
Rock's a big dude. He's probably 6'3".
They say
Yeah.
6'5", but I'm with you. I think he's like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one. This is for all the kids out there. The rapper Young Gravy.
Oh, Young Gravy. I'm going to go with just the law of distribution here and say that I'm taller than Young Gravy.
It's a tie. Young Gravy is 6'8".
6'8". Good for him. And
Yeah.
wow,
So-
awesome.
In conclusion, Paul, you're pretty much taller than everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I
That's it.
saw. Do you remember Sean Bradley?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Sean Bradley's 7'6", I think. I saw him in the Charlotte airport a couple of years ago,
yeah.
and I walked by him and couldn't believe that that's how people look at me, like height-wise. That's really weird for me to wrap my mind around, because he is my fear, my absolute fear. One, I want to hold on to 6'8" as long as I can. I don't want to measure 6'7". But I also have this random fear that I got this tall because of some disorder, and it's going to kick back in, and I'm going to be like 7'3".
Oh wow, that would be. Then then we're gonna call you tall. Paul.
That would be terrible.
Do you still got good knees or what?
It's amazing. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable knees. I don't know anyone. Now I have a bad back. I don't know anyone who is my size who has good knees, and I've never, knock on wood, had any issues. So, which is why I don't play basketball anymore.
I almost put that in your intro, but I just wanted to confirm.
Great
so
knees.
next
You've
podcast,
heard that.
We'll make sure to throw that in.
If you knew, I'm telling you right now, if you knew about Ron's apartment, you knew about my unbelievable knees.
I did. That's why I brought it up. So awesome, man. Well, thanks for playing that game. That's fun.
That was
fun. Cool. So kind of jumping into just kind of some of the other stuff. So from a sales perspective, right? You have so much experience there, and part of what we try to do on the podcast is make sure that we, spread some knowledge and value and stuff. So, at a high level, just want to, get your take on, what is kind of like the art of sales, and what do you think, separates like a good salesperson from like a really great one? And what are some like tips that you can give to, whether you're an HVAC, guy trying to sell something. I know your experience at Rhino, like we have sales guys here. So what kind of knowledge can you just share kind of on that?
Yeah, there's so many different perspectives on process and model and those sort of things. I think what it comes down to is, and I think what's worked for me, and I have to work on this still, is like you have to control the journey, right? You have to control show. I learned this from someone I really respect, a guy named Mike Hart, and he used to say to me, like, you have to show them how to buy from you.
Okay.
You have to show them what it looks like, and then check in with them along the way. So like, I think setting really good expectations, communication, follow through, not like follow up, like, hey, did you get that quote or whatever? It's just like, hey, here's where we're going. I'd like to go together. And if things work out along the way, this is where we're going to land. I think just like controlling the process to some degree, but then also like, and not to overuse this term, but like being really human with people and just being really, not say like over personal and those sort of things, but really just connecting with people in an authentic way. And you can't really fake that. Like you can try a little bit, but so I'd say controlling controlling the journey, controlling the interaction, and you're teaching them how to do business with you, basically.
And so the way you control that journey is like setting expectations, kind of building out the roadmap of what success looks like, or kind of what, like, walk us through what does that look like specifically?
You just nailed it. It's like, hey, here's what to expect. Here's what it could look like. Here's what good looks like. And we're going to go through this process together. And the good opportunities are like, you're so involved throughout that journey that you don't feel like there's ever a huge decision to make.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, we're doing this. This is the idea. We both like the idea. And next thing you know, you've got a live baby somewhere, right? I don't know if that's a good analogy, but like those are the good ones when you're like, oh my gosh, we did this thing, right? We checked off all these milestones and we're live. We're doing this.
What have you found, like, because expectation setting, I think in itself is like an art form, right? I think some people, out of fear of like losing a sale or, impacting the relationship, what are some ways that like you found like to set expectations, and, how do you go about that typically?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think being like really upfront and honest about what the potential outcomes are and what a win looks like. Go ahead.
Oh, there it goes. I think it was just buffering for a minute.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, hold up.
You back, Paul?
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like
Sorry.
as I've hired salespeople and as I've hired sales directors and other sales leaders, like I'm not the best at sales. I'm good at like really, really high leverage ideas that we can bring to life through people who are all in, right? But like transactional sales, I've never been particularly great at. Although, I had a pretty good track record as like, now I'm just thinking out loud. I was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll experience share real quick. Paul, we've tried sending you guys accounts, and we have sent a few of them, nowhere near as much as I would have liked to. But we always have thought very highly of you individually as like a relationship builder. And one of the things that would kill that was if you were in my inbox or texting regularly about, hey, what's going on with X, Y, or Z. So I feel like you've got a good read on authenticity and just expectations of just that communication rhythm. Because anytime Contractor Commerce or you come up here internally when we're talking leadership, it's always positive. And so you leave people feeling, comfortable and leave them feeling good. And I think that's something that definitely some of us can take lessons from.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
To echo what Aaron said, I think, we've had very limited interactions, Paul, but, I think what I've heard about like your reputation and through doing my research for this podcast, one thing is like, you're an outstanding listener and you ask like really great questions. And I think, a lot of people say that like equals this level of like charisma, that you bring in comfort to folks. And I think that's like half the battle, right? It's like, for lack of better terms, people don't want feel like someone's bullshitting them or, trying to, be a snake oil salesman or whatever. And you're the antithesis of that, right? You're like totally opposite. And you just have a genuine nature to you that is like undeniable. And so I think that's, for sure something that separates you from most salespeople we've ever talked to,
Well, thank you. And as you say that, and I think back of I'm blushing, by the way, truly. When I think back of like when my job was just sales, I think it's sort of accidental because, when I started in the heating and air conditioning industry, and I knew so little, but I was so hungry and so humble, like humble. In other words, like I needed to earn money. I needed to pay off cars and how, like I needed to buy my first house, like all those things you do in your 20s, right? Were like very, very real to me. And so when I got in the industry, like I went to my customers to learn the business. I like selfishly, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I guess there was an element of selling because of like, I'm in there just getting to know them and they're getting to know me and I'm learning from them. And the relationship was building and I became a great salesperson through that process just because getting close to my customers. But I kid you not, like the first couple of years in this industry, fortunately, I worked for a great employer that had a lot of patience. So I didn't know anything. Like I was asking the most fundamental questions. because of survival. I needed to make sure I did a good job at that job so I could feed my family. So like, I think humility and like wanting to learn.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry,
Yep.
Aaron,
Yeah. Go
the
ahead.
other thing I was going to say is, it's clear like your work ethic, right? Like when I was doing my research and you talked about how at CH Robinson, they, talked about getting you a fancy headset and you're like, I just need a phone to dial. And how many shirts that you blew holes through because of how had the phone.
The blowout,
So,
dude.
yeah, the blowouts. How many
So
Gap shirts did you go through?
that's so funny that you mentioned that. So, Ron's apartment, I told you that my fingers went numb.
Yeah.
So when I went to the next company, and they didn't have a headset for me or anything like that, like I just picked up the phone and I was just outperforming. But I would seriously blow a hole in a dress shirt like this. We
Yeah.
called it a blowout, but I forgot who I shared that with. Good memory.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact podcast I watched, but I'll let you know. So my point on that is like, do you think like how much can just hard work overcome, potentially somebody's like lack of knowledge or skills? Because like you were saying, like when you first started, you didn't know a whole lot and you were asking the fundamental questions. But what
Yeah.
you were doing is just hustling, grinding, calling, right? So at what point do you think hard work can overcome some of those, and then how do you eventually establish like a balance of like knowledge and working smarter, not harder?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the hard work element is the major input. Like, yes, you have to have the skills and you have to have the intangibles, but like, it is a numbers game. Success is a numbers game for a lot of people, and that stuff gets recognized. And when it gets recognized, you get opportunities, and when you get opportunities, and you keep doing, that's the formula, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the inputs matter for sure. I can't remember the second part of the question.
Just like at what point can just hard work outpace skills, and then
Yeah.
at what point do you try to work smarter, not harder, once you start developing those skills?
Yeah, there's a crossroads for sure. Like, so for instance, we think about here as we think about growing and scaling our company. Scaling means we want to go from we do 10 of these things to we do 1,000 of these things. And it's a word that I've used in my career that I completely underappreciated.
Yeah.
And you don't scale by working harder. And you get to a point where you look around and you're like, okay, if I'm the only lever that I'm using, I can only get us this far. And as I've worked with people to understand how to grow a software company and how to scale a software company, like there's an element of brute force that's required in the early days, but at some point, brute force doesn't work anymore. There has to be like very, very strategic levers you pull. So at some point it shifts to like, can you develop other people to be able to do these things? And can they be better than you? And can you be humble enough within your organization to let them be better than you? And I'm getting to experience some of that now. And man, it's and what a time to be alive. Like you think not to over emphasize AI and all these things, but like think about all the things you can do now with AI just to make your job easier with a little bit of technology to like expand your influence. So yeah, at some point, brute force only gets you so far.
Yeah, and I think we can relate. I think in our company, we're in a very similar spot right now, and that term scaling is something we've been talking about a lot lately, right? We're got over 100 clients, and our team's facing capacity issues, and then AI and all that. So, like, what piece of advice would you have for us, and or any contractor out there maybe that's just scaling a business in general? Like, as you've been going through this, is there any like piece of info that you're like, hey, keep an eye on this?
Yeah, and this will be uninspiring advice and something I've had to learn the hard way. But like, you have to hire really great people, and those great people are going to cost you more than you're comfortable spending right now. And if you look back at any time you've made those bets, it usually, for the most part, works out. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, you don't do any of it without really, really good people who know how to take initiative and like be a force multiplier. Like not just be a replacement for what you're doing, but they have to do what you're tasking them to do 10 times better than you can do it. And that's really, really hard. So like I talk about, I was talking with my team this week about someone was at like, why are we hiring all these people when X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z? I'm like, look, when you invest and want to grow a company, you can invest in all sorts of different technology. Yes, you want to do that. You can invest in trucks and all these sort of things, but like one of the best investments, now it's a coin toss, but when you get it right, you hire the right person, like that is a unbelievable force multiplier. The downside of that is it's a coin toss. There's a 50% chance it's not going to work. Like that's just, that's the nature of it. But
Are there any things you do to try to make it like less of a coin toss? Because that's something we're always talking about, and it's like we don't want to over evaluate, but we do like culture index, and obviously we have multiple interviews and skills tests. But is there anything that you've done to try to help, make it more of a 70-30 than a 50-50?
That's a good. So the fact that you're doing that sort of filtering and those sort of tests, like I haven't been that disciplined. I've been going a lot with like first and second degree connections and relationships and gut feel. And I've been right in some ways and I've been wrong in some ways. And at different stages of the company, what's right at one point isn't going to be right. So I don't know. As a matter of fact, I would say I've been, I come from a corporate world where I'm very like classically trained on how to do all these things, but I like abandoned a lot of those like basic principles that you do, like personality testing, out of maybe speed and laziness that I regret for sure. Like probably not doing a great job there.
Well, seems like you guys are doing okay. So you're doing something right.
We are. Yeah. We're in a good season right now. It's we've got, little sidebar. I'm in a position where I get to manage everything right now. And I never realized how much just teaching people how to work together better. Like I wasn't always doing that. I was putting people in there, like, here's your functional area, go get it. We'll talk about it at the end of the week. And then I do my things, right? I get my hammer out and I do the things that I know can drive the organization forward. Over the last like 60 days, I've spent most of my effort on just like observing and seeing like, how can I get these two people to work together? Like this person's thinking about this person's thinking about this. And that has been like the biggest like change in our business over the last couple of weeks, a month or so, is just watching people work better together, because that has such a compounding effect. And I'll give you an example. Like I had a new idea today, and I need guardrails on new ideas. I'm a visionary, and I have them, they come to me, and I put it out there. And I I did an impromptu meeting with two of my directors. And was just like, hey, you guys got 5, this will take a minute. Boom, we're all on a video. I pitched the idea and they were already working on it. They had already met with the departments to do it. And I was like, this is what happens when you just like, you orchestrate these opportunities for people to get to know each other and trust each other. And then you give them authority to make decisions, and then you let them do it. And I'm like, okay, carry on. And I was like, so happy about it.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah. So tell us more about kind of what's going on at Contractor Commerce, and kind of what it's been like from your start to where you're at now. Because I know when you first started, there was just challenges in general for, this space to accept e-commerce, in their business. And I know, some of the larger kind of PE groups and the, Ken Haynes of the world and the Runch Group and those guys, I think they probably have, more vision there and luxury to potentially try something like this. So what is like kind of the evolution been since you started to where you're at now? Have you seen a shift at all, or what are you seeing overall?
Yeah, big time. So I want to make sure we talk about the big companies. So I'm putting a pin in that because we'll get there. When we initially launched the company, we launched it under the idea that like everyone shops online for just about everything. No contractor has an online store. If they did, it would be a terrible experience, because how do you sell home service business-based services and products online? So we had to build the technology to create e-commerce for contractors, but then really build a framework about like, how do you do it? Why do you do it? So we spent the first couple of years just educating the market on the why, not even the features of our product, just like why they should take it serious. And that was exhausting. Like we're still doing it to some degree.
Yeah.
But we launched with an idea and a hypothesis, if you will, and we were right. So 4 years later, since we initially started pouring gas on it, we now get to hear the stories of like hey, we tried this and it's been really, really good for our business. And so I'll share two examples of two calls I observed today. One was with a company called Precision in Chicago. Chicago is one of the most challenging markets for PPC and all those sort of things, as you guys very likely know that.
Yep.
And on the last 8 lead, so they've had 12 people go through their website. This is this month, so we're looking at May. They've had 12 people go to their website and configure an instant estimate on an HVAC system. They were able to book 8 of those for in-home visits. They sold all 8 of those jobs.
Nice.
So they're like, we have a 100% close rate. And I'm trying to tell them, like, it probably won't always be like that. It's great that it's like that now.
Yeah.
That's one example. Was just observing another call. This is a company up in Seattle, Washington, Allred, and big Daikin dealer up there. And just last month, they did, I think, 9 systems, 123,000 in sales of customers who went to the website and configured a price, got a monthly price, and booked a home visit to have someone come out there. So this idea that a customer, a homeowner, wants to go further through the buying process at home on their own terms at 10 o'clock on a mobile device, and only do that for 30 seconds has really, really been profound for our customers. And then the whole idea of selling products and services to your customers through your website, for some people, they've felt like, I've got a customer in Texas, you guys probably know Airtron. I think there are over 15,000 transactions of, orders of 3 to 4 air filters or whatever. So wow. Thousands and thousands of SKUs. And then stories of companies who, thought they could just put it on their website and do nothing with it and it would be magic. And that's been true too. No, it's not magic. So it's been cool. The best part is, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I seems cliche, but like, I just want to see people have success with it. And now that the market's more mature, it's no longer will it work? It's if you take it seriously, it will absolutely benefit your business.
Yeah. So on that note, what is like your elevator pitch to these guys out there who don't know what contractor commerce is, and why this could be another business unit or revenue stream that they could offer for their people?
Yeah, I would say, like, take a step back, look at your market, look at the digital presence of everyone in your market, and really think about, like, how are people differentiated, right? How are people, it's all sort of the same, right? Then I would think about the fact that half of search, if not more, is related to pricing, how much things cost.
Yeah.
And if you can answer that question for your customer in the least friction way possible, the way that requires less friction, you'll outperform and you'll win. It's not a bad thing that you want to go into somebody's house to do the load calculation, the customer presentation, and meet with that customer and give them a price. I think you should do that too. But I think you should also just make it super easy for a curious customer to figure out how much something's going to cost them. That's a starting point. But then also to think about why shouldn't a customer have a portal on your website where they can see their service history and see reorder their filters and schedule service, or get their filters shipped before their membership, before their service, maintenance contract occurs or whatever. So, it's happening. And the cool part is, sorry, I'm rambling, but the cool part is, so many contractors have went before. You're no longer in that early majority. This is the middle of the pack now. There's tons of evidence out there on how to be successful with this. It's no mystery anymore.
Yeah, I would even say too, like, we think about the big systems and building your own price and everything. I think of the Pro Skill guys back in Arizona that did theirs as well. But like, if what we talk about as a marketing agency is decluttering the call center as well. And
Yep.
Countless times when clients, maybe their water treatment company, and people are calling their main line for a water filter, but they're calling the main line by going through Google Ads because they forgot the number, didn't save it on the phone. And we're here saying this is a huge opportunity to reduce wasted ad spend. But also, if they could just do it online and get the filter ordered, you don't have to answer the phone. You can, deliver it on your own time, and it just really saves a lot of the headaches, and it provides clarity to the consumer.
100%. You get it.
Yeah. The other thing, Paul, it's like, how have you been like overcoming, the specific like objection of like, oh, we don't share pricing until we get to the home, right? Because like we know a lot of times CSRs are coached to like never give pricing over the phone, right? We don't put pricing on our website. We don't advertise price, anywhere. And we've had some clients that have prescribed to the model of they ask you answer and have been very successful, right? Because it'll immediately eliminate somebody. You don't want to be everything to everybody in that sense. And so, how do you kind of overcome something like that with a contractor who's got it cemented in their mind that it's like, no, we would never be that transparent with pricing?
People who call to ask for price are not sitting there with a checkbook ready to like, hey, how much is it? So I can write exactly how much on this check, right? They're
Yeah.
calling for two reasons. They want to reduce uncertainty
Yeah.
and reduce doubt, anxiety, right? They just want to like start filtering in their mind like what they're facing. And so if you pull that guard down and you say something like, look, it's really hard to give you an exact price over the phone. What we do is we prefer to do a home visit, which we can schedule. However, I can walk you through on our website right now. We can get a little bit of information and give you an idea of what you might be looking at. And that's going to build so much trust. It's also going to, when you have my friend is going through this right now. A friend of mine texted me about pricing for a boiler for his house. And I connected him with someone and they're going out there. But the period of time from that person scheduling that appointment to them going out to quote it, that anxiety is still hanging in the air. They're still Googling how much should this cost? What should I expect? They're still getting educated. So you want to give them all that education up front so that they don't have to go Google and figure it out. It's about you build that trust and you've got that relationship, and then you go to home and do what you normally do anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to your earlier point about the customer portal, so I'm relatively new to like the trades, right? I've been at Lead Hub for 3 years, but I've been in marketing for a very long time. And one thing that is sticks out to me about the home services space is how little loyalty there is towards any sort of brand, right? Like if I ask you today, like, hey, if you need a new pair of basketball shoes, what brand are you going to go buy? You'd probably
New
say
Balance.
Nike. Yeah, New Balance. There you go. Which I think is a Sean Bradley sponsor. So no, so you have brand recall there, right?
Yep.
But if I ask somebody on the street, hey, if you needed a new AC system, who would you call? And they probably wouldn't have like a top three. Maybe they know the one guy that's all over TV or whatever and billboards, but they're not going to know. So that's the
Yep.
first challenge. But the second challenge is like the client retention part, right? And the thing that Ish is doing with Nuve and how he's trying to, he makes a really good point about like how alarm security systems get you locked into their ecosystem and you're like stuck in there, right? And this idea of that customer portal is super interesting to me, because I'm like, man, all of our clients should have customer portals now, so they have a login and they have a spot to go back and exactly like you said, see your service history, book again, so we can create that retention like pattern, so they don't have to Google somebody new every single time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I don't know where I was going with that, but
Well,
just a point that like came to mind as you were explaining some of this.
and what you're saying is backed by data. There's a study done once every 2 years called the American Home Comfort Study by a firm called Decision Analyst. They're in Houston, Texas. This is all Googleable.
Yeah.
And they interview homeowners who've made a major HVAC or a major home service purchase over a 2-year period of time. So $2,000 or more. So something legit. And 70 or 80% cannot recall the name of the company that did the service.
Wow.
And I just went through this. I was sharing with someone, like I lived in Dallas and had to get foundation repair, and I had to get foundation piers put in my house because you have to water your foundation in the great state of Texas. They don't market that. Okay. But anyways, it was like the worst home service project I've ever had to do. And the company was unbelievable, but ask me their name. Like I already forgot it. That sucks.
Yeah.
So like,
It was expensive. Hopefully it was GL Hunt, one of our clients.
it was GL Hunt. They were amazing. And it's
Thanks.
funny.
We're gonna clip that, Paul. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's funny. So I told that story recently, and then I was going through my phone. I was like, wait a minute, what if I saved this person's number? And so I went through my phone, and it is, I thought her name was Summer. Her name was Candy. And then, so like, and I found it. So this is Dalrock Foundation, Candy. Okay. I found it in my phone. So for anyone who needs foundation repair in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you're not using, what was the name of your Geo Hunt?
They're a good backup option.
Yep. Dalrock Candy. Give her a call.
Nice. That's very cool. But yeah, it's so crazy that no one's really figured out like a good solve for that. Like, how do you make sure that they are brand loyal to you? So I think we're gonna put that on our vision board and add it to our VTO.
Well, we've had a lot of these conversations over the years, and you get a lot of these companies that focus on like replacement efficiency metrics, and they'll coach clients on, don't worry about the client after you replace their system, because they're just going to be mad at you for the next 7 years if they have to call you again. So don't worry about it. But now you see a lot of people, becoming full home service companies, of course. And so constant customer communication is more important for cross-selling than ever before.
Yep.
And so I think that's where, when you use a Service Titan or an FSM that connects in with a Contractor Commerce, so you get sales data and have that portal for them, it's easier for you to cross-sell.
Yeah,
for sure. So what else is going on at Contractor Commerce, Paul, that you want to kind of let the people know? What's the evolution that's happening? And then also circle back to the point you were going to make about like the bigger companies and what they're doing kind of in this space.
Yeah, the point on the bigger companies is you are right. So companies like the Wrench Group or whatever are all well-resourced. They're thinking about this. Quite honestly, we built Contractor Commerce because people were talking about this idea. We didn't invent the idea. We just made it awesome and available through software.
Yeah.
But those companies are, many of the big ones are working with us, some are not. But I would say the message that needs to be heard is like, you don't have to be a giant, company with a ton of resources. Actually, the middle market companies are the ones that are performing the best with this. Because you're not restricted by the IT requirements and the project management requirements and all the integration stuff that happens at these giant companies. You can just go. So like, I've got a company here in Charlotte. I think Travis Crawford. This is, I guess, $10 million shop, maybe $10 or $15 million shop, and my goodness, every day. He gets 100 solid leads every single month. He's selling hundreds of thousands of dollars in this market. So it's the middle market that does really well with this, not to exclude the smaller companies, the ones under $1 million in revenue. The challenge we have in that segment of the market, and we're not done building for that, I'll talk about that here in a moment, is like, people in that end of the market need someone to do everything for them, with all due respect, because they're busy. They're wearing a lot of hats. So like, they don't have time to create a mailer and run a PPC campaign or train the office staff. Like, they're surviving and trying to grow. So when we initially launched this product, like, our thought was like, look, this is for everyone. And then what we found is like, no, this is for people who are like serious growth companies who know how to build and lead within their companies. If someone's using EOS, like you just mentioned earlier, Vision Traction, if someone's using EOS, this is up and running in moments. As long as it's a big rock for that quarter, right?
Yeah.
If someone doesn't have an operating system or leadership structure or those sort of things, it can be a little more difficult. That said, our vision is that every contractor would have an online store. So our engineering, our product team, our leadership team, we're looking at how can we help everyone, and with different segments of the market with different elements of product. So to tell you like what's coming, this is really cool. So buying journeys has become one of our hottest products. The ability to get an instant estimate on a water heater, a generator, or a panel change, or whatever it might, EV charger port, or water filtration system, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Well, when we do that for someone, we obviously use our platform. We get their pricing, we configure their pricing, we write all the rules, and it takes a couple, maybe an hour or so of work. But we're asking ourselves, like, how can we make it easier? How can we make it faster? And so we just launched AI buying journeys. We're testing it in Atlanta, where the customer really gives us nothing. The customer tells us what they want the outcome to be, not like, hey, I sell train carrier Daikin. They tell us what they want the outcome to be, and we let AI do the work. So I was just testing it with Dayco Heating in Atlanta today. It looks awesome. Just always thinking about how we can make things, faster and better and drive more value for our customers. That's what we're dialed in on.
Are there any other industries that you're looking at adding in? I mean, I mentioned we're working with a lot of window companies. Is there anything else in the pipeline there as well?
Yeah, I just lit up because we just launched a new product this week that I want to mention. But yes, other industries. So we're deep into locksmiths. So if you're on the side of the road and you or wherever and you lock your key in your trunk or you lost it or you need a new key fob or you're locked out of your house, there's a good chance that if you Google that and land on one of the top locksmith franchises in the country, it's a good chance you're going to be doing a buying journey for a key. Like I have an Acura, it's blue, it's a 1996. So we took what we learned in HVAC, we applied it to the locksmith business. It's been awesome. Instead of e-commerce, we call it key commerce. So
hey,
kind of fun. But other industries. I mean, obviously we've got into plumbing, electrical. We are at the point now where we're entertaining other, your roofing and pest control and landscape and those sort of things. We're dabbling in all of those, but we haven't put a shovel in the ground to say this is it. We're going after roofing or we're going after pest control. But that day's coming for sure.
Nice. If there's a plumber out there or HVAC company that wants to, get started or learn more, how do they get in touch with you guys? What does that look like?
Yeah. Go to contractorcommerce.com, hit learn more, or by the time this episode airs, I'll create a link that LeadHub can use and embed it somewhere, and we'll know they came from you. And so it'll be contractorcommerce.com/LeadHub will get you to us. So
we'll drop that in the show notes for sure, man. So cool. What else, Paul? Anything else on your mind you want to share with us, or dropping knowledge on us all episode? It's gonna be.
I could talk hours more about Ron's apartment.
That's gonna be part 2. That's gonna be the after hours podcast. So we'll hold those thoughts.
So good. We did a test project this week. So we've always said we don't want to become a marketing company. We're a software company. Right. And so when our customers come to us and they're like, most of our customers come to us and they're already working with a marketing agency, most of them. But sometimes they'll come to us and they're like, hey, we want to get trapped. We want to use this platform so bad, but we have no visitors to our website. Can you help us get visitors to our website? And we're like, well, those pages could index on Google. We're really clear with people that look, yes, some of these pages are going to rank and you're going to get some traffic and it's going to be because of us. But we don't know if that can be true for everybody. So we don't promise anything, right? I've always said, if we said, oh, having e-commerce will boost your SEO, we would have a lot of people signing up, but that's not the right thing to do, even though we know it to be relatively true. But we launched instanthvacquote.com this week, and we put a serious budget behind it. So if you're listening to this, go to instanthvacquote.com, put in whatever zip code you're in, and it will take you directly to the buying journey of a participating Contractor Commerce customer. So you get right off of our site and you go directly within the walls of one of our customer sites. And we're putting a significant ad spend behind it. And we converted a lead yesterday. We launched it, I think, Monday or Tuesday. We converted our first lead, and I'm just waiting to find out if we actually drove dollars for our customer. Because if that works well, I'll go all in on it, all in.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a great way to help exposure for your clients, and especially the ones that might not, have all the website visitors. So very cool. We'll have to check that out. We'll drop that in the show notes as well, so people can go check that out too. So
awesome. Thanks, man.
Sweet. Well, Paul, this has been an awesome episode, dude. Thank you so much for all your insights and, giving us the download on Ron's apartment. I'll have to do some more research next time to find out, what we talk about next time. So,
I gotta find Ron. Ron, I think it was like Ron Swain. I knew it. Ron Swain. I knew the name a couple weeks ago. I was trying to find him on the internet.
yeah. What are you going to say to him when you find him?
Oh man, I don't know. That's
We can practice. Hey,
Yeah.
Paul, it's been years. My cat's died since I last saw you. How are you doing?
You did a pretty good job. That's actually a pretty good Ron, man. That was a wild time. That was just so formative though. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. That was fun.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you everybody for watching Talk of the Trades and being here as we chatted with Paul. We'll put in the show notes everything, all the links you need for Contractor Commerce. Thanks for tuning in again. Everybody like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, Mom.